So I'm a freshman in college right now, and in junior year, I went through like a very intense, almost like borderline traumatic year of my life, and my parents were like this close to like pulling me out of school because the way that I was acting was honestly, looking back, pretty concerning. The things that I would say, the way that I would act, the way that I comported myself, um, was just like, in my head at that time, made perfect sense. And in my head at that time, that the way I was acting was a true reflection of what I thought was a reasonable reaction to my situation. And then looking back now, I'm realizing that like I was in some crazy mental place to react the way that I did to things. And not like crazy like, oh, she's crazy, but it's just like I can't like imagine going through that right now, because like that is exhausting and that is tiring and that's like unenjoyable. And it's really interesting because I've seen a lot of my friends, sorry, I'm eating animal crackers, they're really good, but I've seen a lot of my friends who are younger than me go through this same experience, and it's so very weird to me to be on this side of it, because I remember when I was a junior in high school, let me just like lay out some things that were going on. I think a lot of it was mostly rooted in like typical junior year things, like just like really awful, terrible classes. The like one of the worst classes of my life was APUSH. For those who don't know, it's AP American History. And I mean, my teacher was amazing, but just the class itself was like absolutely like treacherous. I was taking some other courses that were just like mixed with that, not enjoyable, not what I personally feel passionate in. So there was this like academic pressure. Obviously there's like the whole thing of college, and I think like not only the like actual application itself, but kind of like coming to terms with the fact that you are about to go through this like transition, and then again like there's this whole like mentality you're in then that's also different from what I'm in now. It just like the way that my mind works keeps shifting like so rapidly, and I think that's probably pretty normal for this time in life, but it's just like quite interesting to watch. So yeah, there was like school things going on, there were like social things going on, and there were my own mental challenges going on, just like everybody else. But like all in all, like combined together, I was in, I don't want to say insufferable because that is like mean to who I was then. I wasn't insufferable, but I was like just like so truly honestly just like depressed and anxious, and like I would never admit that at the time. And like even now, if my parents would like physically come up and like talk to me about that period of my life, I probably would have difficulty talking about it because it's like so stigmatized, and like I don't know, it would be hard. But that is what junior year was, and that was what junior year was for a lot of people. I also went to like private school. It was private boarding school, to be very specific. I was a day student, so it's a bit of a different experience, but nonetheless, pretty prestigious and pretty competitive environment, which did not help with any of that. But my mindset at the time was very rooted in academia, and I think that, yes, because academics were that important to me, but also I think because like academic validation was a way for me to sort of like escape from all of these other issues that I was facing, and like kind of being able to ground myself in like academics and be like, this is what I'm gonna do. I think there's also the pressure of, I don't know necessarily what I want to do with my life, and especially at that time when you're like applying to college, like that feels kind of like a very terrifying thing. Again, it's strange because I would never have said this back then, but I think that that is what was going on. And yeah, it was like such a weird mindset. I remember like getting something lower than an A minus felt like genuinely I didn't know how I would react. And I think that my family was scared of what would happen if I got a grade lower than that, which is, looking back, absolutely ridiculous, I think. And I think a lot of us can agree that though it is important to pursue excellence, if you will, and do your very best, that was another level of maybe mental illness, like borderline, like strange behavior. But I think it was very normal at my school and very normalized. And I'm gonna move you guys because I don't like this lighting. But yeah, so I used like it was like I would crash out. Genuinely, I think that I was going to crash out if I didn't get the grades that I wanted. And a lot of good things came out of that. I was very driven. I was very motivated. I was getting things done. But at what cost? And I remember being at that time in my life, and people that I trusted, like that I loved and trusted adults, like my parents, but also my advisor at the time, whom I was really close with, would be like Maya, we want to see you do, like, not nothing, but like just like let an assignment go, like let one assignment go, like let yourself get one bad grade, let yourself break this cycle, as I think what they were trying to say. And I remember hearing these things and like truly one ear in one and out the other, and it was almost impossible for me to get on that like thinking plane because I was so fixated on this way of life that I had lived for so long. And for some reason though, that all changed my senior year. And like something, maybe it's like after my college apps were submitted, maybe it was like I was at the end of this like academic rigorous like journey that I had been on since middle school, and I finally felt like I did it, and I did it well, and I am proud of what I did, and now like I can relax. And I think that was a part of it, was like I accomplished what I had wanted throughout high school. And I look back on it now and I'm very, very confused because I never had a specific goal in mind. I never had a specific, like, this is what I'm kind of working towards. It was just, I need to be excellent. I think that's really all it was I want to be excellent. I want to be the best for myself, but also I just wanted to be the best, which I did not achieve. But I was at a point where that all fell apart. And I think it's because I reached a point where it became so intoxicating to me, the people around me, but also to a point where I was proud with what I had done. I also started to engage more in things that I actually loved, like art. My senior year, I took a photo class and a film class and an electronic music class, and a sculpture class. Like, I was in the arts, and that's when I kind of had this revelation, and I was like, why have I given up and sacrificed so much of my own life to these courses and things that I was gaining nothing out of? That's not true. I gained a lot out of them, but that I didn't want to further pursue. And I think that there is a difference between, like, putting your all in and doing your best on assignments and just putting your best foot forward and being obsessive over it. Those are two different things. You can do your best, and sometimes that means knowing that your best is different in different parts of your life. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I had to be the best at everything that I did. And it wasn't that I was comparing myself to other people, but it was like, that was always in the back of my head, that I was like, if I can be this good at one subject, like, why can't I be that good at another? And I think doing your best means knowing that knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. And that sounds really, really simple, but I think that it really isn't. It really is not that simple. But yeah, I started to engage in these things that I really found passion and like love in, and I started to like think like, why did I sacrifice these things that I enjoy for things that I didn't enjoy? And I think it was rooted in fear. I think it was fear of failure, and I think it was fear of not having the options to change my mind. I always knew that I wanted to do something artistic and creative, but what if I decided suddenly that I wanted to be a neurologist? I wanted to have that, like, that door open for me, so I wanted to do my very best in science and STEM and things like that in case I wanted to do that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you should do that. But again, it's a dangerous mindset that you have to play very carefully. So yeah, I kind of gotten to this point where like now I know that I can do those things. I know that I have the capacity to do that level of excellence, and I know how to do it. And I know that I can, and I know how, and I can whip that out if I need to. But I have allowed myself to relax, and I feel a significant gain of peace in my life. And like this sort of mindset, and I know all of these things like take with a grain of salt because there are exceptions, but I feel like I'm at a place where it's like, if I'm not enjoying something, why am I going to give it so much of my time? And I've told this to people who are in that mindset that I was in, and they push back so fast. Well, you have to do things that you don't like to do. You have to do things you don't want to do. Yeah, but you're taking it, I'm talking to myself, like my past self, is like, you're taking it too far. You are taking it too, and you're taking it to heart. You have to do things you don't want to do, but don't let it take up space in your heart. Don't let it consume you. Do them in a way that is efficient and good, and completes whatever it is that thing you have to do is, and then let go of it. And don't give it your entire body, your entire soul. Don't pour your soul into something you don't love, you don't enjoy. I don't know. And it sounds so very simple, but I remember hearing, not those exact words, but like something along that line, and I was so dismissive of that. Yeah, all right. Yeah, but you don't get it. Like, you don't get it. You don't get the circumstances. You don't get, I have to do well on this test. Like, you don't get it. That's the mindset I was in. And I think it's really hard to explain this to somebody who's hasn't felt that way and this way. Like, it's a balance. I think everybody eventually gets to this point, and I'm sure that I know there's another point after this that I haven't reached yet either, that, yeah, I don't know, but it's a good feeling to be out of that. But there's also a flip side, whereas I feel less accomplished in many ways, not in all ways, but in many ways, to the way that I was, because I really was, like, type A, bro, like, top, like, performance, top motivation and scheduling and these skills that are very good and I probably should tap back into somewhat. But so there is that flip side of I do feel a bit slower, I guess you could say. But I think happier. Slower but happier. So sacrifice some things for others. Yeah, and I just wish that I wish everybody to go through that shift. Who is in that mindset. And I'm thinking about one friend I have very specifically. We had a conversation about this a couple months ago. It was like the end of her junior year, and I was at the end of my senior year. And I remember her calling it, and she was like very distraught. And I tried to tell her this. I was like you won't believe me, but I was in that same like headspace. I mean, it's different for everybody. I can't be in that exact headspace, but like generally, you know. And I had this feeling of knowing that whatever I was gonna say just wasn't gonna hit. But I knew that she would feel it eventually, and she would be like, oh, okay. And I think that to a certain extent she has now. But maybe it's too early to say. I don't know if she's finished college apps yet, but I doubt it. It's not time for that, but it's so strange, man, to think about the way you were and the way you are, and the way the brain shifts and changes so rapidly. And like I wonder what decisions I would have made if I had this mindset before, but also who would I be now if I wasn't that? Probably very different. Probably somebody that maybe I wouldn't even like or associate with, because that wouldn't be me. So I'm glad I went through it. I gained a lot from it. I feel very proud of what I've done, happy about it, and at the same time I'm so relieved that I'm out of it, and I'm so at so much peace now. And I know that there's more peace to achieve, and I can't wait. But yeah, that's all. Bye.